Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fear-Free Passive Investing. My name is Lucas Miller, of course, host of this channel, and today is Friday, May 8th at 3:30 in the afternoon, so I apologize for the late video today, but we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to do something that I'm going to just call Friday Funny or something, where I come up with the most ridiculous thing I can possibly think of and talk about it. And lo and behold, I didn't have to search far to get the inspiration for this episode because I have in front of me the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, which comes from 8 House Democrats who introduced the Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act. Now, I know I'm a couple weeks late on this. You've probably already seen it. But if you haven't, Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat from Minnesota, she's in the House of Representatives, and she, along with a bunch of co-sponsors, just introduced something called the Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act. This fully authorizes full rent and mortgage payment forgiveness through the end of the coronavirus shutdown. She says Congress has a responsibility to step in and stabilize both local communities and the housing market during this time of uncertainty and crisis. In 2008, we bailed out Wall Street. This time, we need to bail out the American people who are suffering. This is crazy. Now, I totally agree with the sentiment. A lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of people are feeling the hurt. So it makes sense to logically think, okay, what's the biggest expense? Usually housing. So let's talk about that. How can we help people instead of hurt people? Totally get that. But canceling rent and canceling mortgages, are you kidding me? This is crazy. Nobody will go for this. This is nuts. The people who are going to go for this are the exact type of people that got her elected in the first place, which is the only reason why she is introducing this statement bill. Now, statement bills are, they're crazy. Basically, what it means is it has no chance in heck of ever seeing the light of day, but that doesn't stop people from introducing it. So they're usually reserved for the most crazy of ideas, nuts. And so this is $1 trillion bill that would constitute a full payment forgiveness, no accumulation, no debt or anything for renters or homeowners, but there's a caveat there: no negative impact on their credit rating or rental history. Now, this is funded by taxpayers, so they're paying taxes, but then they don't have to pay rent, but they're going to get money because it's their own money. So it's just this convoluted slush fund that they're creating. But anyway, it's going to be a relief fund, and they're not going to have to pay rent, and blah, blah, blah. The bill proposes using taxpayer money to establish a fund through HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, for landlords and mortgages to cover losses from the payments. But huge caveat alert: those who participate would need to agree to several terms. Shocker, right? In order to receive relief money, landlords, not renters, landlords would have to agree not to increase rent of their rental properties for 5 years. They would also be required to give tenants a 10% equity stake in their property. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh man, that's crazy. Detailed lending data would also be required to be reported to the Federal Housing Authority. So you have to say, open up your books, right? But what happens if you violate this, landlord? What happens if you keep charging rent? Or what happens if you evict someone or put a negative rating on someone for not paying rent? Landlords could receive a fine of $5,000 for the first offense and $10,000 for a second offense. But landlords who violate this a third time could be fined $50,000 and or have their property seized. They're going to take your building if you violate this. Okay, so this means that the government could literally take your property for something as simple as reporting to a credit agency that a tenant didn't pay their rent. Shocking. But it gets way better, way better. So the federal government would also create another fund with your taxpayer dollars, and anyone agreeing to participate in this fund would be required to provide tenants with free health care, child care, employment, and education assistance, and financial literacy education. So the logical next step is, well, how the heck do you pay for something like this? And the truth is you don't. Frankly, there's no way you could do this. The If you're wondering what on earth this has to do with any sort of coronavirus or COVID-19 or any sort of pandemic response, how the heck this helps anyone? It doesn't. Frankly, it doesn't. It's crazy. But you know what? That doesn't stop people from supporting it. It's going to get a ton of support. It's going to get a ton of news coverage because the idea behind providing free anything is always going to be more popular than working hard for something and earning it. So I know that's a really ranty Friday, funny Friday Five. I know a lot of people don't like the political post, but we're going to continue to do it if it's necessary. So anyway, I'm sorry to go a little bit over my time, but I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Sorry this is late. Hopefully you watch it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everyone.